There's a moment in Madagascar that becomes deeply uncomfortable once you stop being 8 years old. Alex finally gets what everyone says he should want: freedom, nature, his roots, the wild. And instead of becoming powerful, instead of unlocking some kind of secret lion instinct, instead of ascending into animal enlightenment, this man, or lion, immediately starts malfunctioning. He can't hunt, he misses stakes, he misses the attention, he misses his schedule, he misses the applause, and suddenly the lion who spent his whole life acting like royalty starts looking weirdly nervous. As a kid, you think, wow, Alex is spoiled. As an adult, you watch again and you realize, wait, this lion isn't spoiled, he's terrified. Because Alex isn't afraid of the jungle. He's afraid somebody is finally going to find out he has no idea what he is doing. And honestly, this sounds suspiciously familiar. Because when you strip away the dancing and the DreamWorks joke, Alex's entire character feels like an imposter syndrome with fur. First of all, we need to talk about the biggest scam in this movie: Alex's title, King. King of what exactly? Because every time Alex introduces himself, there's this energy of, I am Alex, star attraction, main event celebrity, professional lion. Sir, you live in a zoo. That's not shade, that's literally the point. Alex's entire identity exists inside controlled conditions. Food arrives automatically. People admire him automatically. His environment is designed to make him succeed. He doesn't need to compete. He doesn't need to struggle. He doesn't need to discover himself. Everything is already decided. And that's comfortable. Dangerously comfortable. Because the movie quietly shows us something weird. Alex doesn't actually describe himself using his personality. He describes himself using his performance. He talks about being famous, being loved, being admired, being special, not being brave, not being kind, not being capable. Special. That's different. A lot of people accidentally do this. You become the smart one, the funny one, the talented one, the reliable one, and eventually you stop asking, who am I? You start asking, how do people see me? That's Alex. His identity wasn't built on knowing himself. It was built on receiving confirmation. And that works great until the audience disappears. Now enter Madagascar, the place where Alex's confidence immediately starts filing for divorce because nobody cares. There is no crowd, no routine, no title. There is no performance. And suddenly he's not Alex the famous lion. He's just a lion. And weirdly, that scares him. It's fascinating because Alex doesn't respond like someone excited to reconnect with his instincts. He responds like someone getting exposed. Think about how much of his personality disappears. The jokes become nervous, his confidence becomes forced, and his certainty vanishes because now there is no script. That's what imposter syndrome feels like. People think imposter syndrome means, I think I'm bad. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's, I don't know if I'm actually good. That's a big difference. Because Alex isn't insecure in New York. He only becomes insecure once the environment changes. That hits harder than people realize. Because lots of confidence depends on the context. You can feel amazing at something, but then you change your environment and suddenly then become convinced you were a fraud the whole time. That doesn't mean you became worse. It means your old rules stopped working. Alex mistakes discomfort for failure, and honestly, it's painfully human. Now let's talk about the funniest existential crisis ever animated, the stake. Because this movie does something weirdly dark. Alex starts hallucinating, and suddenly his best friend starts looking like food. Now on paper that sounds hilarious, and yes, the movie plays it for comedy. But underneath that joke is a genuine panic, because Alex realizes something horrifying. His instincts as a lion exist. No amount of sophistication deleted them. No amount of applause erased biology. And suddenly, everything he believed about himself starts collapsing. Because if Alex can lose control, then what else about him isn't real? Notice how scared he becomes. He doesn't enjoy the hunger, he's horrified by it. Because suddenly his identity feels unstable. That moment becomes bigger than food. It becomes, what if I only became this version of myself because conditions allowed it? What if I'm not actually who I thought I was? That imposter syndrome spiral You start questioning everything. Your success, your personality, your achievement, your identity, until eventually you're not even asking, what do I do? You are asking, who am I? Alex enters that exact spiral, except his version involves accidentally hunting his friends. Marty wanted freedom, but notice something. Marty never questions himself. He questions the location. That is a huge difference. Marty lives because he believes there's more life available. Alex struggles because he believes his life was his identity. Marty adapts, Alex spirals, because Marty isn't attached to status. Alex is. And honestly, that's why Alex gets irritated with Marty, because Marty accidentally exposes something uncomfortable to Alex. You can leave, you can change, you can become different. But Alex doesn't know exactly how to process that, because if life changes, what happens to the version of himself everybody loved? The question scares a lot of people. You graduate, move, change jobs, lose routine, suddenly your old identity stops working. Then the panic starts. And because you're failing, but because you don't know who to become next. Alex is experiencing a lion version of that. Now, here's the part I love about this movie. Alex never actually becomes less impressive. He just stops receiving constant proof. And that changes everything because imposter syndrome quietly convinces people that external validation equals truth. If people clap, it means you're valuable. If people praise you, it means you're capable. If people notice, it means you matter. But the second those signals disappear, your confidence collapses. That is Alex. He thinks his identity has disappeared, but actually, the audience disappeared. Big difference. His kindness stayed, his humor stayed, his leadership stayed, and his friendships stayed. The only thing that vanished was the applause. And suddenly he didn't know how to measure himself anymore. That's such an uncomfortable realization because lots of people secretly build their identity around being useful, being successful, special, recognized. But when life becomes quieter, they mistake that silence for failure. Just because nobody is clapping doesn't mean you become less of yourself. One thing I love is that Alex doesn't become a wild lion. That would completely ruin the story. Doesn't suddenly become this nature king. Doesn't become an hunter supreme. Instead, he becomes okay with being both. Because the answer wasn't necessarily to reject his old identity. The answer was to expand it. Alex learns he isn't fake. He's complicated. The performer wasn't fake. The lion wasn't fake. Both of them existed. You just never had to think about it before. That's growth. Not becoming somebody else. Understanding yourself more honestly. Alex thought leaving the zoo or going to Madagascar would teach him how to become a real lion. Instead, it taught him he never needed permission to be one in the first place. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and come back for more.